Welcome back to the Dime Gaming Bros podcast. This is season 3, episode 2. That's hard to believe.
Wow.
I remember when this was like a neat pet project on the side that we were like, maybe this will stick. And I feel like this has been arguably more consistent than the main show since we've started doing it. It shifts around more scheduling wise, but like it always happens. The main show can be a little whoopsies. That didn't happen. Something came up. Whoop-de, whoop, whoop, whoop. You know?
Well, speaking of inconsistency,
here we go!
I'll start with my review.
Finally.
So this month, I was supposed to review Resident Evil, numerically the first in the series. Here's my review. I'm not smart enough. So I watched the YouTube playthrough, not a speed run, but the player definitely had experience with the game and pretty much played the game straight through almost perfectly, like pretty good routing and knew what to pick up and what to leave. That video was 4 hours long.
Oh boy.
And at about an hour and a half, the player was at the furthest spot I've ever made it into this game, which was definitely not this playthrough. I'll talk about it during happy hour because I cannot, in good conscience, label my experience as a legit review for Resident Evil 1.
Damn.
I just haven't played enough. So this month, I'm going to talk about the Resident Evil 2 remake.
Okay! Just go for it.
Just go for it. It was released in 2019 by Capcom, based on the original that was released in 1998. The remake was released on pretty much every console, including a cloud version on the Switch in 2022.
Ew.
So for the story opens up with character selection. You can choose to play as either Leon Kennedy or Claire Redfield. This choice affects the story in minor ways that strongly encourages replays. I played this one a couple of years ago, pretty much, I don't know, like 6 months after it came out or something. And during that playthrough, I played as Leon. So for this playthrough, I played as Claire. There are trophies for completing the story as each character, and I wanted a trophy. This story takes place approximately 2 months after the events of the first game. Leon and Claire are strangers, and they're both on their way to Raccoon City. Leon is starting his new job for the Raccoon City Police, and Claire is looking for her brother, who is in a Raccoon City cop. When they arrive, they encounter zombies. They get separated, and depending on the chosen character, one hides in the police station for safety. The station acts basically as the mansion from the first game. It's a big building that the player must run all around, unlocking doors and safes, upgrading their weapons and pocket space, which is the inventory, and trying to survive while trying to escape. Each character unlocks sections of the station differently. Progression by getting certain keys is different. And as stated before, each character has a slightly different story. The story can generally be cut into 3 different sections. There's the police station and the parking garage. There's the sewer and then the umbrella lab. Leon encounters Ada Wong in the sewers, and then they investigate Umbrella in the lab. The evil pharma corporation. Claire encounters Sherry, a little girl whose parents are terrible, awful parents, and who are also Umbrella scientists that are probably responsible for the zombie outbreak, maybe.
Oh boy.
Something I found out 2 days ago while doing research for this review. Completing the story, the main story, with one character unlocks the other character's side campaign. What that character is doing after you split up and your chosen character is in the police station, the unlocked story follows the other character in the meantime.
That's cool. I'm assuming that's an addition in the remake, right?
Wrong.
Really?
So I didn't know what that was because it pops up in the menu as... when I played Leon, it popped up as, congratulations, you finished the main story, you've unlocked Claire's second run. And I was like, oh, this is just some dumb speedrunning bullshit, I'll never do that. I didn't know it was the other half of the story. Oops. While running around the police station, an unkillable character referred to as Mr. X stalks the chosen character, adding pressure to trying to escape. The description is going to make him sound goofy. He's many feet taller than Leon and Claire. He wears a long black trench coat, black boots, black gloves, and a black fedora. I included a picture of him because it sounds so goofy, but it looks pretty serious when you look at him. He's big and spooky.
Spider-Man noir looking ass.
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah, a little bit.
But you were picturing Batman, weren't you?
Not quite, but you know.
When I played as Leon, Mr. X was kind of annoying. Like, you know, now I gotta go. Now I can't go straight to where I need to go. I need to go the long way now. But as Claire, he was extremely annoying. I felt like I was stuck in more hallways with Claire, where I couldn't just run downstairs, go through a couple of rooms, and then come back upstairs. I was stuck trying to hide in a linear room, or a couple linear rooms, or just forced to like run towards him and like try to duck around him. It was a lot more difficult. It felt a lot more linear every time I got stuck by him. This leads me to sound design. Spoilers, it's so good. Zombies often fake their own death when they've been shot a couple of times, but the biggest giveaway that they are still alive, besides noticing that their brain didn't split apart before they fall, is that you can hear them breathing.
That's cool.
There were many times, you can hear my computer breathing right now. There were many times I entered a room and just stood still to hear what else was in the dark with me. So many objects in the game have fantastic sound design behind them. The items chest, you can store extra crap in squeaks when you open it up. The typewriter, which is the save feature, clicks and clacks satisfyingly so you know you didn't menu too fast and accidentally didn't save. That might have happened once or twice. Guns sound different and unique from each other. They give a nice pop or a bang depending on the caliber. Back to Mr. X though, he's so big and monstrous, you can hear him stomping his big black boots all through the house. You can usually tell place and proximity too. Is he upstairs? Is he on the other side of this door? More often than not, you can give it a pretty accurate guess of where he is. You know he's really close, like in the same room as you, when the music starts playing. The music doesn't play all through the game. It's saved for set pieces like a touching moment between characters or an exciting chase or fight scene, but when it is played, it's effective. The music is extremely fitting for the scenario it's found in and really helps fill the space. It especially makes fight scenes even more intense. The visuals in this game are awesome. The remake was made in the RE engine, the engine Capcom made for Resident Evil 7. Let me pause my review for just a minute. Resident Evil 7 was probably the first Resident Evil that I played. I might have dabbled with one before that, but it wasn't for long. It just didn't grab my attention. I played Resident Evil 7 on a jet engine PlayStation 4 in the daylight on a 1080p TV. That was across the room, and it still scared the shit out of me. It looks so good. My experience with 7 was enough to make me continue playing the series years later and trying to catch up on a series that I'd never cared about before. So now, consider that for this game. I will admit that character models aren't perfect in this engine. Claire's ponytail will look a little weird sometimes. Sometimes an eye will look layered into the face in a strange way. But the vast majority of the game just looks so good. Lights and shadows, blood. If you play with the knife and you're like slashing zombies, you can see the slash marks of blood on the floor.
That's good.
It's so cool.
Liquid physics.
Character animations, like headshotting a zombie and watching the neck snap back. Ugh, it's excellent stuff. For gameplay. Ugh.
Game Boy.
Yeah, I can't talk. For gameplay. Do I really need to explain the gameplay?
Yes.
You run through the police station solving puzzles, collecting keys, managing your limited inventory, shooting zombies, avoiding those liquor bastards, avoiding that Mr. X bastard, boarding up windows, mixing quote-unquote green herbs, winky winky, to heal yourself. The shooting mechanic takes a minute to get used to, but it's a really cool design feature. I don't know. The reticle will start fairly wide, so you have to aim and wait for a second as the reticle closes in to a finer point, and that's when you can aim more precisely, trying to nail that critical headshot. You can shoot when the reticle is wide out, but it's basically like the big circle in Halo instead of waiting for it to shrink down.
Yeah.
If you are aiming and you get the fine reticle and then you take a step or two in a direction, it widens the reticle again. So you have to wait for it to shrink down to know you'll be more precise when firing. Having shot a real weapon before, I think this system is awesome and kind of relatable. Not everybody is going to be the Call of Duty super soldier that gets every gun perfectly aimed as soon as they raise it. These characters are trying to survive a zombie apocalypse. Also, this system makes combat so much more stressful because you have to wait for what feels like forever while a hungry zombie is walking towards you. Again, that stress would make aiming difficult if this were real. True. I think it's cool. I will say that I love the map in this remake. I think it was very easy to find the floor plan for this game. So like as you're running around, you can find a map of the first floor, and it so I could see rooms on the map that I hadn't visited. But I love that this game's map expands on past games with the information it gives me, the player. In the first game, Resident Evil 1, the one I'm skipping, it would merely show me on the map if I had unlocked a door. Blue is unlocked, red is locked.
Wow! Innovation.
And if I had picked up everything in the room, it would show me the same color scheme. In this game, the map shows me items if I walked close enough to them. Sometimes it wouldn't always register an item because I hadn't walked close enough to it, making for some pleasant and or frustrating discoveries. This map also showed me what I needed to unlock doors, again, by proximity. So if I tried to open a door, but I needed the heart or the club key, it would put that logo on the red door on my map.
That's cool.
This is especially helpful if you, the player, are an adult, maybe not playing the game in one sitting because you have a life. So the game marking the map makes it so much easier to pick at the puzzles and feel the excitement of like, yes, I finally found the diamond key. You can then pull up the map, route a path to unlock all the diamond doors, get a quarter of the way there, and have Mr. X completely ruin all your plans. In closing, while doing research, I found that a lot of Resident Evil fans were kind of bummed because the cool story features of splitting it up into different run-throughs was diluted some for this game. Not as much unique things happen to the different characters like in the OG Resident Evil 2. That's why I kind of ignored your question because I get back to it later. Yes, the original one did split the campaign up like that, but apparently it went more in depth than this game does. This game kind of reuses and recycles rooms and puzzles and stuff. But I don't know. I haven't played it.
Whack.
Apparently, it's even worse for the RE3 remake. So that'll be fun. However, with this being my only experience with Resident Evil 2, I obviously didn't play the original, I'm really happy with this game. There are a couple bonus game modes I've never touched. There are all kinds of unlockable character or item models, the concept art that you can get by doing different things in the game. There are a couple of fun alternate costumes for the characters. It feels so nice to play a game that is a complete package on release. I haven't seen anything about these releasing as a buggy mess. They don't ruin their own story with DLC add-on bullshit. It's a straightforward game and story that's designed to be played through a couple of times and seen from different perspectives. This last playthrough was about 6 hours. I have no idea how many hours I spent playing it last time, so I don't know, you can say I put in 15, 20 hours maybe into this game already, and I still have 2 other halves to play through. Plus whatever the bonus modes are. I got this game for $20 in 2019, and I'm very satisfied, especially because I found that it came with a free PS5 upgrade.
Free?
Free.
That's cool.
I went to download it digitally.
Usually those are an extra $10.
Not usually. When the PS5 was new, a bunch of games were like, yeah, here's a free HD pack, basically. It's all it was, but
that's cool.
Still free.
Free's
it was
good.
like a year later that companies were like, actually, we're going to start charging for these.
Yeah.
I like this one. Thumbs up.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Very nice, huh? Jumping ankle first into the Naughty Dog news. From naughtydog.com, we realize many of you have been anticipating news around the project that we've been calling The Last of Us Online. There's no easy way to say this. We've made the incredibly difficult decision to stop development on that game. We know this news will be tough for many, especially our dedicated The Last of Us factions community who have been following our multiplayer ambitions ardently. We're equally crushed at the studio as we were looking forward to putting it in your hands. We wanted to share with you some background of how we came to this decision. In ramping up to full production, the massive scope of our ambition became clear. To release and support The Last of Us Online, we'd have to put all our studio resources behind supporting post-launch content for years to come, severely impacting development on future single-player games. So we had two paths in front of us: become a solely live service game studio or continue to focus on single-player narrative games that have defined Naughty Dog's heritage. We are immensely proud of everyone at the studio that touched this project. The learnings and investments in technology from this game will carry into how we develop our projects and will be invaluable in the direction we are headed as a studio. We have more than one ambitious, brand new single-player game that we're working on here at Naughty Dog, and we cannot wait to share more news about what comes next when we are ready.
This is very good. I'm glad.
It's a good call. I was kind of interested in this as a project, but if they decided that they couldn't do it without shifting the entire studio, that's a good thing. Especially because Naughty Dog's one of the last AAA studios still pumping out single-player games.
As you were reading that, I was emphatically shaking my head, no, to the live service studio, and then yes, to the single-player story games. This is very good. I'm glad.
I am curious because so they said that it directly says we have more than one project that they're working on. And we've been speculating for the past 2 years or so that they might be... Last of Us 3 is probably happening, I think is kind of concrete, at some point anyways. But we were kind of pontificating back and forth a few separate times as to whether or not they're going to continue the Uncharted series at all. I'm just really curious as to what they have cooking. It would be nice if they came up with another property. They've clearly been kind of killing time the past couple of years with re-releasing The Last of Us games with very mid at best remasters. You know, so
I'm getting them and Insomniac mixed up. Did they do that really goofy game that was an Xbox One exclusive title? Sunset Overdrive?
That was Insomniac.
That was Insomniac. And then Infamous who does that one?
I think that might also be Insomniac.
Is it?
That's a dead series, which is weird because it's a pretty popular one.
Right.
Sucker Punch Productions and published by Sony Computer Entertainment.
Yeah,
I thought it was
Sucker Punch.
Weird. I thought it was also one of those two. Weird. I'm just kind of curious what they're doing more than anything else. I'm not dying for another game. I'm not currently a PlayStation owner, so I'm not super rushed about it, but I'm just kind of curious what the fuck they're cooking.
Yeah.
What are they cooking in there? Especially because, Uncharted ended on a fourth game, and then they had the spin-off half sequel, and that's been it, and a dud of a movie.
Didn't they say they were doing a Star Wars game, and they released a poster? That wasn't the Bounty Hunter one. I thought it was something else.
I don't know. Naughty Dog's not working on a Star Wars game. There is another Star Wars game that's coming out this coming year.
Yeah, the Bounty Hunter one, right?
Yeah, because there was one. It was Respawn was working on one that got canceled.
Yeah,
which sucks because that looked good. And then so 1313 way back in the day got canceled.
Yep.
And then the Respawn game got canceled. And then the current one is, I don't remember what it's called, but it's
Outlaws?
Something like that. It's done by I can't remember. But yeah, that's coming up in 2024. Hopefully, anyways.
I don't know. The point is, I swear there's something in my brain saying we've talked about what they were going to do next.
There's definitely a lot of speculation.
There was an announcement, I thought.
I have no idea.
I don't know. I don't know why we're covering this again. E3 is dead for good. You said they confirmed the confirmation. The confirmation's confirmed. It's dead. Wow.
That's true. It's dead.
That's good.
R.I.P.
From PCGamer.com. It's startling to think the day before was once the most wishlisted game on Steam, given how fast and spectacular everybody found out it was a scam. Oh no, wait, it's Fall from Grace has been. Sorry, I read that wrong. The words kind of blended together. Earlier this month, the game launched to scathing reviews from critics and players alike, panning it as a shallow, empty extraction shooter that was nothing like what its developer Fntastic originally promised. Just 4 days later, the studio with a dumb name announced it was shutting its doors, with the developer claiming that it lacked the funds to continue. A few hours after that, the game was pulled from sale on Steam, though the actual servers remained online. For those players who could still access it, the fate of the game itself has remained uncertain until now. Earlier today, the day before his official Twitter account posted a statement confirming the game will be shut down next month. We regret to inform you that the development company Fntastic has officially ceased operations, and as a result, the day before will be retired, and the servers will be turned off on the 22nd of January now this year. So I saw a lot of investigation into this game, and it was basically just a plug-in swap. Like Epic Game Store, they bought everything inside the game and pieced it all together, and it didn't work well, and they just flipped assets. That's pretty much all this game was.
Yeesh. It had that one cool poster, but I never even caught any of the gameplay about this. I remembered when it was announced and everyone was all excited and it was like breaking pre-sale records or whatever the fuck, and then I just started hearing shit.
Yeah. No, it was basically just an asset flip.
Rip.
It was a huge scam.
Big sucky. It's amazing how far along these sorts of things can still get, coming from like AAA developers and getting published on major platforms. It's almost like they all still do that. Call of Duty. From Kotaku.com, speaking of, Activision Blizzard has been the subject of scrutiny for several years now due to its alleged boys club corporate culture, and now the Wall Street Journal reports the embattled gaming company will pay roughly $54 million to settle a 2021 gender discrimination and harassment lawsuit, the same lawsuit that seemingly prompted Microsoft's landmark $69 billion acquisition of the Call of Duty and Overwatch publisher that was finally greenlit in October after an 18-month legal battle. In a statement to Kotaku, an Activision Blizzard spokesperson shared further context on the settlement. Blizzard. We are gizzards. We are...
You said it first.
Buzzards. We are gratified that we have reached an agreement with the California Civil Rights Department, CRD, today, as the CRD has now announced in a press statement. We appreciate the importance of the issues addressed in this agreement, and we are now dedicated to fully implementing all the new obligations we have assumed as part of it. We want our employees to know that, as the agreement specifies, we are committed to ensuring fair compensation and promotion policies and practices for all our employees, and we will continue our efforts regarding inclusion of qualified candidates from underrepresented communities in outreach, recruitment, and retention. We are also gratified that the CRD has agreed to file an amended complaint that entirely withdraws its 2021 claims alleging widespread and systemic workplace harassment at Activision Blizzard. As the CRD acknowledged explicitly in the agreement, CRD is filing along with a proposed consent decree a Second Amendment complaint that withdraws, among other allegations and causes of action, the fifth cause of action, employment discrimination because of sex harassment. Big words. As the CRD also expressly acknowledged in the agreement, no court or independent investigation has substantiated any allegations that there had been systemic or widespread sexual harassment at Activision Blizzard. In addition, the CRD has acknowledged that no court or independent investigation substantiated any allegations that Activision Blizzard board of directors, including its chief executive officer, Robert Kotick, acted improperly with regard to the handling of any instances of workplace conduct.
I was wondering why I knew the name Bobby Kotick.
Yeah.
He's been getting roasted online this week.
There's another one about that too as well. According to a December 18 report from Inverse, Activision Blizzard will pay around $45 million in a fund to be split among the women who worked for the developer between October 2015 and December 2020. In addition, $10 million will be used to cover the CRD's legal fees. And then a follow-up from PCGamer.com. It's now official. In a farewell message to employees, Activision Blizzard CEO Bobby Kotick has confirmed that he will be leaving the company. Finally, Rip Bozo!
Get pwned, loser.
Kotick's future with Activision Blizzard came into question almost as soon as Microsoft announced its intention to acquire the company back in January 2022. The decision appeared to be all but made after that deal was finally closed, as Kotick said Xbox boss Phil Spencer had asked him to stay on as CEO through the end of 2023, which isn't generally the sort of timeline you announce if you're expecting to stick around. But today's message makes it a done deal. I don't feel like reading his statement because he's a fucking loser and I don't care.
You should fast forward the part where you're reading all the corporate speak really fast, so you're reading it at like double speed, because I didn't catch a single word you said except for the sex word.
Long story short, Rip Bozo, the one thing with this, like, so the general outcome is really good. It's good that they won the majority of the lawsuit and they're getting actual like reparations from it. The whole thing really makes it clear how much of an exit strategy this was for Kotick once the major allegations came up, though, and then with the Microsoft acquisition, like, he's getting off scot-free. Like, you're not responsible necessarily for literally every single horrible thing to happen at your company. Obviously, that's not how that works. But, like, you as the head of the company, being in charge of the company culture, and pretty well substantiated to have, allowed for a lot of this sort of stuff to happen. He's just getting off with his stocks.
Stop saying getting off.
He's getting
away.
Getting whatever the fuck. I don't care. Like, it's so fucking frustrating. Like, it is just a shame that the fucking piece of shit is like, hee, and then he's gonna go off to probably like rape children in the woods or something with his $1 billion in Microsoft stocks. Cringe, but big monies. I love giving women money. It's your turn now.
Curses. From PCGamer.com, 2022 did not end particularly well for our favorite hunk of burning PC gamer, Henry Cavill. That was worded weird. After leaving The Witcher to return to the big screen as DC's top dog superhero, the Superman project fell apart. His old job was gone and he was very suddenly looking for something to do, but there was one bright spot. After all of the above had unfolded, Games Workshop confirmed that Cavill was set to head up and star in a Warhammer 40,000 cinematic universe. In case you'd forgotten, because you're like that, you forget quite often these known facts about your superhero Henry Cavill.
This is true.
Cavill is a big 40K fan. He spent time in COVID quarantine painting Warhammer miniatures. He talked about it during Netflix's WitcherCon in 2021. He once interrupted an interview to explain the difference between Warcraft and Warhammer. He even had a cameo of sorts in the Total War Warhammer 2 DLC, The Warden and the Punch. It's fair to say that his fandom is deep and legitimate.
Yeah.
Do you have something you want to share with the class?
No.
We haven't heard much about Henry's post-Witcher doings since the Warhammer project was announced, but progress is being made. Games Workshop announced today that the full agreement, quote-unquote, with Amazon Studios has been signed, and now it's time to move on to the next part. Specifically, quote, working out all the creative details with our partners and getting the first script written and into production. Wow. Hopefully, it's something the mainstream nerds will enjoy, because I don't know anything about Warhammer.
I agree. It would be
Space
cool.
Marines, but not Halo.
True. It would be cool if that, would happen. Out of all of the stupid, gay-ass, cringe streamers, I feel like Amazon's probably one of the safer bets for it to be on, though, for the least amount of, like...
They do pay the most attention to making something, like, not terribly awful most of the time.
Yeah, like, the other... Whether it
Netflix.
be... Yeah, Netflix is really hit or miss. Like, really hit or miss. But when it comes to most of the Amazon stuff, whether it's for video games or comic books or whatever, most of their adaptations are pretty solid. To some extent, at least, so that's neat. I mean, Jeff Bezos, that sucks, but
yep.
I don't know. I'd definitely rather hear that it's going to Amazon than going to Netflix right now.
Yep.
From Kotaku.com, announced during the Game Awards, Arcane's next game includes vampires, but it isn't a Redfall sequel. Instead, the studio is making a Blade game that it says will be an immersive third-person action-adventure. Arcane, Lion, and Bethesda's new Blade game stars Eric Brooks as the famous half-human, half-vampire who uses his abilities to hunt down vampires and protect the world from their evil nonsense. Coincidentally, this year is Blade's 50th anniversary with his debut in The Tomb of Dracula number 10 hitting in July 1973. That was back before I was a spermie in my father's balls. Bethesda describes Marvel's Blade as a mature single-player third-person game that will be set in Paris, France. In the trailer, we see a Paris that appears to be under lockdown with citizens being ordered to remain indoors after the sun goes down. Meanwhile, Blade, is in a barbershop getting his beard trimmed by someone who seems nervous to be working on the famous vampire hunter. Follow-up information was that this game is probably being released in 2027, which is way too fucking early to be announcing a game.
Yep.
Both DC and Marvel games have been doing this a lot recently. They're like years out from early development, but I really like the announcement teaser. I like the art style that they're going for.
Really good.
Looks really cool.
It got me really excited for this game, and I don't usually give in to that feeling.
Yeah. I really like the setting as setting it just anywhere in Europe because he's actually from England. Like, it's just something that they tend to forget in a lot of even the comics half the time. Blade's a really popular character, but doesn't have a lot of comics, which is weird and stuff. But like, he's from England. So it's I don't know. It's nice to have it not just be, wow, he's in New York City. Like, okay, cool, fuck you, I don't care. Set it somewhere else. And France, there's probably some connection with Arcane. I have no idea. Maybe they're from France, or maybe they're Canadian. I have no idea. I don't know this sort of shit. But they go ha ha ha, and that's cool. And the art style looks really cool. I don't know if the game will necessarily look like that. I hope it does though, because that would be cool. It looks like it doesn't require a lot of computing power, but it's stylish, which is really important for something like this that requires a lot of oomph,
I don't know. We will see
in 2027
if the game is good.
When I'm literally 27 years old.
Wow.
Fucking terrifying to think about. I could have kids by then. I could be married by then.
Could be dead by then.
That's also true. We can arrange that really soon. You might need to find a replacement for me on this show, is what I'm saying.
I'm not doing it alone.
Who knows if this show will be around by the time this game comes out, is a better way of putting it.
There you go. I could retire by then on the fat stacks of money we're making from this show.
Yes.
From PCGamer.com, Hideo Kojima revealed that film and television production company A24, whose previous projects include Midsommar and Everything Everywhere All at Once, is collaborating with Kojima Productions on the Death Stranding film project. The Death Stranding film was announced in 2022 with a promise to bring, quote, new elements and characters, end quote, to the world of Death Stranding. Details haven't been revealed, but Kojima suggested that it won't be a direct game-to-film translation. Quote, I made Death Stranding to be a game, and games are games. There's no real need to turn them into films, Kojima said shortly after the film was announced. So in a way, the Death Stranding movie is taking a direction that nobody has tried before with a movie adaptation of a game. I trust this man with this movie. So,
I agree.
I was kind of yelling at a podcast, I forget which one, it might have been Weekly Planet, talking about this, because this is the guy that can't play video games. And he's made the bestest video games. The bestest video games, apparently. I don't know, I haven't played any of them. But, like, he's there to tell a story, and apparently he couldn't make it into the movie-making business, so he was like, fuck it, I'll just make video games then. And everybody raves about it. But he can't play the video games.
It's really funny. Yeah, so, he gets really bad motion sickness really quickly.
So he's a
big film guy.
He's finally making his dream of, like, making movies instead of games.
Which I think is cool.
I think he's going to put the love and care into it.
Yeah, for sure. At minimum, I would assume he's probably writing it and being heavily involved. And this ties in with something that isn't really relevant, I guess, to this show, but A24 has been talking recently that they're going to probably expand outside of just doing dramas and stuff, which is cringe, but kind of necessary for their business model, I guess. And they were like, we should probably get some franchises and stuff going. And this, I'd rather have this than be like, could we make comic book movies? You know, I'd rather have this kind of fits into that niche because Death Stranding's a weird fucking game. Yep. So that's cool. No, like Hideo Kojima's reviews of movies is like the funniest thing to follow on Twitter. Like he takes you might have seen him. Like he'll sit there in the theater, he'll take a picture of him usually wearing a mask, just like sitting there like, I watched this movie. And if he says nothing else, he didn't like it. Like, so he'll be like, I watched The Marvels. And that's the end of the tweet. It's really funny. Which he didn't actually. He had multiple things to say about the Marvels, which is funny. And that's like how his reviews go. It's really funny. He's a really silly guy, which is cool. It's making me more interested. I think when this was announced, I went, oh, fucking, could we just stop with doing the one-to-one adaptation? You know.
Mr. Hideo, man, heard you. And he agreed.
It's probably true. He literally heard my voice.
Yes.
Imagine if they don't cast Norman Reedus as this character, though. That would be incredible.
It kind of sounds to me like they're not going to follow that character.
I have no clue I don't know what the fuck they're doing, but that's cool. From GameSpot.com, Call of Duty will apparently be back in Black Ops for the next 2 entries. A new report claims that the 2025 installment for the FPS franchise will be a Black Ops 2 sequel set in the year 2030. What's intriguing about the dates, on top of Mason being obsessed with the numbers, numbers joke, is that the 2012 game at the time had a futuristic 2025 storyline. Insider Gaming talked to multiple sources about the Black Ops 2 sequel, which is reportedly codenamed Saturn. The original intent was for this 2025 game to only feature remade multiplayer maps from Black Ops 2, but supposedly now the idea is to mix these old locations with totally new arenas. The change might be, in big quotations, because of bad feedback to Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, this year's entry, or technically last year's entry, 2023, only offering remakes of maps from 2009's Modern Warfare 2 at launch, among many other complaints. Call of Duty 2025 is still roughly 2 years away from release. That's how years work. So specifics could obviously be altered, but for the time being, Insider Gaming says the Black Ops 2 sequel is expected to have a rebuilt movement system, Pick 10 customization for multiplayer, and round-based zombies. Meanwhile, Call of Duty 2024 is reportedly a Black Ops title focusing on the Gulf War and set in the 1990s. This game, which it hasn't officially been unveiled... Yes, unveiled? Unveiled. My brain's very bad today.
Yes, I can tell.
This game hasn't officially been unveiled, will apparently feature old maps too. A leak suggested the game would see the return of MWD...
Nope.
WMD, holy shit, from Black Ops and Grind... from Black Ops and Grind from Black Ops 2. However, it may be the case where the latter is now attached to 2025's Call of Duty instead.
What happened to we're not gonna do a yearly Call of Duty anymore?
Then the Activision getting bought out by Microsoft deal went through. This is definitely connected to that. No shot, it's not. This doesn't sound entirely uninteresting, to be fair, because Black Ops 3, 1, was shit.
Yes.
And was an undirect sequel to Black Ops 2. Black Ops 1 and Black Ops 2 are two of the best Call of Duty games.
Yep.
By a long shot.
Yep.
Black Ops 2 was good at doing futurism without just making, ooh, look, robot suits everywhere.
Right.
Which was cool. But then Black Ops 3 did have a story.
Some really good maps, too.
Yes. The multiplayer is still, I think, one of my favorites.
Yes.
But Black Ops 3... was buttery smooth, but it was shit, and the story was shit, and it was just set in a random time period in the future. It had basically no connection, which is lame. And then Black Ops 4 was only multiplayer, so nobody cares. But with Black Ops Cold War, there we go.
There you go.
The most recent entry in this series, it kind of makes sense that they want to go back to that well, especially with now the Modern Warfare label being kind of sullied with the last 2 entries.
I liked Cold War decently too.
I just bought it. I haven't finished it yet, so I'll get there. I might even review it on the show. Maybe, probably not. Probably not. But I mean, it'd be cool if they don't make it shit.
I mean, what that game did was like played with the Cold War, obviously, but that was like 80s and it bled into the 90s, so it'd be cool to just have these like undercover Black Ops stories that technically didn't happen. Like, this is a fun idea. I like this.
And I like that the Gulf War won the potential this year. Technically, 2024's will be in the Gulf War in the 90s.
Yeah, that'd be cool too.
That'd be cool. So it's like it's dumb that they did it like this. This could have been avoided if they had, I don't know, planned out better. But like, it's interesting that they might have basically two sequential, like, ongoing Black Ops series that are loosely connected to each other in different time periods. Especially because Cold War isn't really in continuity with the other ones, but it is, but it's not. I find that very interesting, despite the fact that nobody at Activision gives a flying shit about any of that. Like, Cold War is kind of in continuity with the Modern Warfare games, the new ones. It's weird. So they're just kind of throwing it all in a blender, but at least it sounds like they took the feedback of, hey, don't only have remake maps.
Yeah.
Because that's a dumb idea. Have the remake maps and a shit ton of
We can
maps.
do that shit in Forge.
Not with Call of Duty, but yes. With mods, yes. That's so lazy. Come on.
From Kotaku.com, Kratos is going to Valhalla in a free DLC for God of War Ragnarok that will see the angry dad fight through waves of enemies in a roguelite structure. The update will come to PlayStation 5 and 4 on December 12th. So it's already here and like a month old. The mini expansion will take Kratos on a deep personal and reflective journey in the Hall of Dead Heroes. There, players will embark on a new adventure that revolves around mastering combat challenges with what developers Sony Santa Monica describe as brand new elements inspired by the roguelite genre.
Massive W. This sounds really cool.
I like free DLC.
I like free. Good. A lot of games have been doing roguelike stuff now, like as a post-launch expansion, which is cool.
I mean, that's what the freaking zombies in Call of Duty is and all that shit. Like, it's just wave-based. It's just a different twist on that. Yeah. So it's just cool.
It's cool that it sounds like there is going to be story involved. It's not just I assume he goes to some mystical place and gets magically reset every 5 seconds. Like, it's not just horde mode. Like, it's horde mode with actual story in it, which is cool.
No,
and it spices it up.
A story progression to it for sure,
which is cool.
Good.
I think that's good. Also, yes, free is good.
Yes.
Alrighty, this is the last.
I'm surprised you're doing this. Wow.
You know what? From Kotaku.com.
Well,
here are the Game Award 2023 winners and losers. So I excluded a few categories because they're things that I know neither of us give a shit about, and I did not include the full list of all nominations for each category.
Sex scene?
I would definitely have included that if there was one. No, like best mobile game or stuff like that, and like best esports tournament. I don't care. Neither of us give a shit.
Nah.
So I included all the big ones, and I didn't include all the other nominations, just the winner. Game of the Year, Baldur's Gate 3. Best Game Direction, Alan Wake 2.
Slow down.
Penis.
Game of the Year was Baldur's Gate 3.
For sure.
So, I mean, there were some competitors.
Not by much, though. Baldur's Gate, I haven't played it, and I know for a fact that if I played it, it would be my Game of the Year.
I'm kind of considering it. Like, I kind of can't handle those games, but this game has gotten so much love. I'm like, you know what?
Plug it.
I'm kind of interested.
Apparently, for console versions, if you get the disc one, it's like 5 discs or something stupid.
Jeez. What I like of the little bit I've seen about this game is that OG Baldur's Gate, you can sit there and detect traps, and it does a magic dice roll behind the scenes, and it only tells you failed. You detected a trap, like in a dialogue box. Whereas this game shows you the dice rolling like all the time, and that it's not that different, but it just makes it seems so different in my brain that I'm like, oh, that's how that works. I get this game now. Like, I understand how this works, and now I'm interested. So, I don't know.
You're very silly.
You dumb and gay.
Yep. Best Game Direction, Alan Wake 2. That was the only other one that I thought would be remotely up for competition for Game of the Year, and I think Game Direction makes more sense. Because it's a smaller experience, but it's very narrative-based.
I've seen that it's also gotten a lot of people's, like, best horror game. Like, people aren't even talking about the Dead Space remake anymore. This just completely overshadowed it.
I'm also talking about it this season in a few months, so
wow.
Best Adaptation, the winner is The Last of Us, obviously. That was kind of the only one that had a shot.
Yeah.
This year was pretty rough. Best Narrative was also Alan Wake 2. Best Art Direction was also Alan Wake 2. That makes sense. It looks pretty from what I can tell from the advertisements. Again, I haven't even seen any gameplay. I have no idea how this game plays.
Kind of surprised it got Best Narrative. Like, there wasn't, freaking gay story games that you love so much.
None of them came out this year.
That's what I'm asking. What's that series?
Life is Strange?
Thank you. There wasn't a Life is Strange release this year?
Nope.
There wasn't a Telltale. There wasn't a...
Actually, the Telltale's The Expanse came out this year.
No, so that one
Those don't
panned.
usually get critical acclaim outside of...
I'm just saying, I'm surprised Alan Wake got narrative. There's no, like, story game that competed.
I think Alan Wake 2 is a lot more story-based than you think. 'Cause
Yeah.
It's a big... They said it's a really big switch up from the first game.
I get it, which is good, but it just, like, it's weird that it beats out all the we make a story and you press A games.
I think that's kind of one. Not to give any sort of award show any credit for being smart, but I feel like that's like giving the Oscar bait movies the Oscar. Like, it's kind of lame. Like they're designed in a lab to win this award. That's kind of dumb. I don't know. And also there was only, I think it was only Telltale's The Expanse. The only Telltale games that have ever really gotten like critical acclaim, I think, was the first season of The Walking Dead, and that's about it. That one I think got Game of the Year, but other than that, like they've all been various. Like they don't get critical acclaim.
Yeah,
they're just
they get
popular.
panned.
Yeah, because they're
easily.
usually busted.
Yeah.
Even if the story's really good. Best Score and Music was Final Fantasy 16. Composer
Masayoshi Soken.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That makes sense. I've heard these games have good music. I've never played one.
Yep.
Cool. Best Audio Design was Hi-Fi Rush, which I've been hearing nonstop about this year.
I mean, I would hope so, because it's a beat-based combat system, so you kind of need a really good audio design.
Who could have imagined?
Yeah.
Best Performance was Neil Newbin from Baldur's Gate 3. I'm assuming he played a character very well.
That's cool.
Innovation and Accessibility was Forza Motorsport. That kind of makes sense. They do a lot of they do have a lot of accessibility options on those. I didn't play this year's Forza, so. Games.
What the heck?
I have no idea what Games for Impact is.
I don't know what this game is.
Me neither.
Tchia?
Whoopsies. I didn't even catch that when I copied it. Best Ongoing Game was Cyberpunk 2077, which, when compared to the competition, when it's basically only going up against Fortnite
And Destiny?
I think it probably deserves the win for that. Because it had
Because they did the classic Cyberpunk, we released a shitty game and then made it work, and then we made it fun.
Yeah, pretty much.
And
like
then
they released
a DLC that was good.
It was a huge patch, a huge
Classic
DLC.
CD Projekt Red.
True. And then another really big patch, I think, pretty recently. So, it out of the competition, like, I don't want Best Ongoing Game to go to Fortnite. Suck my ass. I don't want Cyberpunk 2077.
Warzone too, I guess, but or Apex.
I don't think either. Apex might have been nominated. I don't think Warzone was nominated. I don't need Cyberpunk 2077 to win. I just need Fortnite to lose.
Yes.
Best community support was Baldur's Gate 3. That makes sense.
Obviously, because it had so many players.
Yeah. Best independent game is Sea of Stars.
Don't know
I
it.
put it on my list of things to check out.
Ooh. Next one.
Best debut indie game was Cocoon.
Look, I've been waiting for you to hyperfixate on that one. It looks really, really cool.
I have no idea what it is. I guess I'll add it to my list of things to check out.
It's from the people that did like the Journey and the other one.
Really?
Yes.
Weird.
And it's like you're this little bug guy, and you're carrying around balls. You can only carry one ball at a time, and it's like a puzzle-based game. And there's worlds inside the balls. And then it's just like worlds and worlds and worlds and worlds and worlds, and you keep like transporting down into the balls.
I love balls.
But it's puzzles with balls, but the balls are worlds.
Okay,
It's really cool.
I'll check it out.
It looks really, really confusing, and like everything I see online about it is like, now trust me, this would get really confusing, but when you're in the zone and you're playing, you keep track of it really easily. So it's like, okay.
Sure. I believe you.
The biggest critique I've heard about it is that it's like, you look around at the puzzle and you're like, oh, blue, red, green, white, black, or whatever. Like, you know the order that you have to do, and then you're stuck for like 15 minutes as you're running around grabbing one ball and putting it into the order that, like, you solve the puzzle, and then it takes forever to solve it. So, like, that's no big deal. It looks really good.
I like puzzles. Best VR/AR game was Resident Evil Village VR mode. That makes sense.
I mean, they do really good VR stuff.
That's true. Resident Evil 7's VR mode has been popular for the past like 4 years now. So.
I'm surprised that it's Resident Evil Village and not Resident Evil 4 VR.
They did a VR for 4?
I thought they did.
I don't know. I have yet to really look into the 4 remake yet, so I don't know.
That's coming in 2 months.
I know. I'm leaving it up to you, Buster. I'm trusting your judgment.
Thanks, Dad!
I will regret this.
That was another one that wasn't really mentioned for best horror game this year.
No,
I was like, holy crap!
It was on the list for game of the year, but it wasn't under the horror category at all, I don't think, which is weird.
It's freaking weird.
I do think that remakes, even really good remakes, shouldn't be allowed in the category. That's a thing that I have.
We've talked about this.
Even though I think that Dead Space remake was like a ground up, genuine start from scratch type game.
They changed a bunch of things. It still
feels kind of cheap to throw it in the category though, because you're kind of starting with a head start. At least you have less in the pre. Like the pre-production stage, because you basically already have all your artwork is already made and all your shit's ready to go. You just have to make it, you know?
Yes.
Yeah. Best action game was Armored Core 6: Fires of Rubicon.
I think Colin is being dumb and gay because he's not even trying this one, and he's super hyper fixating on all the FromSoft games. Like, oh my gosh, Dark Souls is the only thing that gets me off sexually right now. And it's like, but you're not gonna play this one. You're dumb and gay. I am waiting for a slight sale because I think it looks cool. It's guns on guns on guns, and then you put rockets on top of the guns on guns on guns. So I'm kind of interested. I'm excited to try it out. I kind of hate bullet hells, but this is like slightly different. But it's also like, it's super duper customizable. As like everything, every level can, how do you say it? The game is as hard as you make it. Like, you just need to figure out how to tackle it with the pieces that you have in your toy box, and that's it. And I think that's really, really cool. Like, I don't know. The mech stuff doesn't tickle my fancy either, but I think this could be a really fun introduction, and I'm probably going to attempt it this year at some point.
Robots.
That's all you have to say.
Pretty much.
Wow.
I'm sure I'll like it. It just doesn't tickle my brain yet. So if I play it, I'm sure I'll be like, oh my god. But
the problem is that it's short, but it's, a lot of people say that it's replayable. So it's like, I'm gonna wait for a sale because I'll probably only play it once.
Yeah. Best action adventure game was The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom.
Don't care.
That tracks. It is a really good reskin of the last game by the looks of it, but there wasn't much competition this year on action adventure. It was either this or Spider-Man 2, which is the exact same thing. It's a slightly better version of the last one, which is fine, but like, it's not.
Tears of the Kingdom looks like it could fall into your remake argument. Like, they just released the same game again, but they threw in jump packs or the jetpacks or whatever.
I wouldn't know. I'm not enough of a Zelda person. I haven't played enough of Breath of the Wild. I wouldn't really know.
Yeah.
It definitely looks like it. I don't know.
I haven't touched it either.
Yeah. Best RPG is Baldur's Gate 3. Wow, it's the only actual RPG that came out this year, like a real RPG.
Seriously.
Instead of they're not even a real game. Definitely not a real RPG. Suck my dick. Bethesda, eat my ass. Best fighting game was Street Fighter 6.
Again, probably the only fighter that came out.
Mortal Kombat 1 came out this past year, but yeah, that was fucked. So it's the only one that seemed like it. Yeah, the only one that could win, really. Best family game was Super Mario Bros. Wonder. That makes sense, because it looked really good.
It got a lot of love.
It did.
I don't really see the difference. It looks like another Mario game.
But to be fair, some people that we both know and trust their opinion on did say that it was very good. So, and not just they did another 2D Mario. Like, it's good. It's not just because Mario has a penis on his face. Although that is part of the, the part of the excitement.
I am skeptical.
Hey!
I was giving that same person a hard time because they got Super Mario 3D Wonderland, the super long title, for Christmas. And I was like, oh, the one that makes Mario a furry. He was like, no, Mario was a furry in Super Mario Bros. 3 with the raccoon suit.
That's so true. It's,
like, he didn't even blink.
Nah, Mario has been a furry since the beginning. All Italians are furries, if you really think about it. Best sim/strategy game was Pikmin 4. That really makes sense. Pikmin 4 is awesome by the looks of it.
Okay.
That's a franchise I have like a little bit of a brain thing for. It's a Nintendo thing, so I don't get access to it very much, but like...
I watched my cousins play the first Pikmin a long time ago. I was like, the hell are you doing? This doesn't make any sense. I'm not interested.
Way back in the day.
Yes, on the purple box.
The purple box.
I'm pretty sure that's what it came out on, right?
Yeah.
It is the purple box.
Best sport/racing was also Forza Motorsport. That makes sense. It's the only game that came out this year that wasn't a reskin of last year's game. I can't think of any other sports games that wasn't Madden 67, 29, 420.
I thought there was a kart racer that came out. Didn't the Nickelodeon kart racer come out this year?
That shit?
I don't know.
I think it's shit. I think all of the cartoons that we put in a thing, like all the Mario Kart ripoffs, are all shit, from what I've heard.
Same trusted source had the balls to proclaim Crash Team Racing is better than Mario Kart.
Okay, well, he's got brain damage, okay?
Well!
Best multiplayer was Baldur's Gate 3. Yeah, makes sense. Just give Baldur's Gate 3 all the awards.
I guess so.
Most anticipated game for next year was Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
Disc 2 of Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, that makes sense. I wouldn't know, but I've seen enough trailers that it goes, wow, look pretty.
Nah, I don't think I agree with this one. What games are coming out in 2024? Let's see. What's my game of the year?
Okay, fine. We'll find our
You got Prince of Persia: Lost Crown.
Fucking, that shit's not happening.
Ooh, Suicide Squad: Kill the Justice League.
Kill yourself.
Star
that
Wars,
thing's gonna be worse than Arkham Knight.
Star Wars Outlaws, which is the one I was talking about.
That one's definitely on my list. That might be one of the only ones for next year that I'll actually play. In 2024, I'll actually play it and not wait for some mega sale.
You're not even gonna wait for the reviews to say it's broken AF?
Okay, I'll give it a week.
Okay. Wolf Among Us 2.
Okay, that's my top. Never mind. That was supposed to be out this year. That got delayed a fair few times. There's the Tomb Raider 1 through 3 remaster, which won't be the best thing in the world. Skull and Bones is finally coming out next year. That took forever.
Star Wars Hunters? Which one's that?
I thought that was the...
Because there's Outlaws, but there's also Hunters.
Hunters. It's a free-to-play PvP combat arena combat game.
Alright, stop.
Yeah, it's a fake game. Oh, the Dark Forces remaster is coming out next year. That's cool.
Ooh, I'm excited for that one.
That barely counts, but that's still cool. It's another fucking South Park game next year.
Really?
Those things are miraculously always kind of pretty good.
Yeah.
It's so weird. Yeah, there isn't a lot.
This is weird. I thought for sure there were like big things coming.
No. Bunch of Final Fantasy stuff.
Elden Ring DLC. I forgot about that.
That might be when I actually hop on to Elden Ring. Maybe we might wait longer. You never know.
I've been watching for a good sale for you. I haven't even seen it on the list that I'm scrolling yet, but Hollow Knight Silk Song should be coming out this year.
That's exciting.
Hades 2. Luigi's Mansion 2 HD.
Hellblade 2 is coming out next year. That's cool.
Paper Mario: The 1,000-Year Door remake.
I think it's just getting put on the Switch. Cringe.
right.
Oop, yeah, Vampire the Masquerade. That's probably on my list. Oh, there's another there's another WoW expansion coming next year. Who could have ever guessed?
I hope that
Wolf Amogus.
Hollow Knight Silksong releases.
That'd be good. Hollow Knight's fucking awesome.
That makes it to the top of my most anticipated.
I agree. This month, we watched Mortal Kombat Legends Battle of the Realms.
Crap, I forgot.
You forgot the thing we watched an hour ago.
I thought I was done talking and it was just your turn.
Not quite.
It looked good.
This concludes Jacob's thoughts. It's a direct sequel to Scorpion's Revenge, which we talked about like 6 months ago.
Something like that.
It was a good bit ago. It was produced the year afterwards. It's loosely adapting a bunch of games. Half of them I haven't played. It's not quite as... It did look good, but I do think it was cheaper than the first one. There's a few more sequences where I went, ooh, they're putting shading on top of 3D elements.
Yeah, but there was a lot more blood. It was
I don't think so.
Violent this time, I think.
I think
like
it was
the first one was kind of the same kill or same-ish idea over and over again. This was like, we snap a knee, we snap an arm.
That is true. There was definitely more. Yeah, I wouldn't say it was more violent. I would say there's more variety. Because, I mean, the first one opens up with a fucking massacre. But, like, I don't know. I think the pacing in this one was a bit off. It had I thought that the movie was going to end on a cliffhanger when they finally defeat the bad guy's name, whose name I never remember because I barely care about this series.
It was the bad guy.
The bad guy with the skull face.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah. And then we're going to, oh no, not the bad thing's going to happen and the big guy's going to come. And then I thought that was going to be the fucking end of the movie. And then they just finished the story. Like, the third act was like 20 minutes that I thought would be, I don't know, the next movie.
I will agree that there were pacing problems. There were several fights where it was like, ooh, yeah, he's gonna kick his ass. It's done.
Yeah.
And the next one was done before I was even saying the last one was done. It was like, what the heck? He's just chewing through guys. This is not... Weird. They're not even fighting.
Yeah, the balance was kind of off between fights, which was odd. And yeah, I think they blew their load. Like, there's 4 of these right now. The 4th one is a prequel about Johnny Cage, so we don't have to include that one. I know nothing about the next one other than the fact that it takes place in the future. Like, it really felt like the third act of this movie, which should have been an entire other movie, not like just make it longer. Like, you should have done more with it. But I was satisfied with the tournament being the third act of this movie.
Yeah.
It felt like it should have been the third act of this movie.
Yeah.
Why do you need more than that?
But then suddenly kaiju and they slam and then that's it.
And that's it. And that felt really underbaked. Like, it was set up in the previous movie. It really felt like that could have been a lot longer. It took a third of the time that the tournament did, but it's apparently a bigger, more important fight. Like, I don't know. That's kind of weird. The voice acting was really good, same as last time around. Mm-hmm. I appreciated the fact that
pretty much the same people this time around.
I think most of them are the same. Yeah, I appreciate the fact that they're mostly actual voice actors instead of actor do funny voice. Like, yes. There's about half the people on the cast list have like 4 different roles because they do voices. Like, that's the thing. So that's nice. The like fatality vision, it's like detective vision, you know, or like eagle vision when they do the really gnarly kill bits where they're like, I'm gonna shatter your knee with my dick, and then they like zoom in on the bone. They did that in the first movie, but they definitely did it more. I really like that. It looks really cool.
They did a lot more this time. It was a lot more stylish in the movie than it is in the games. Like, the games are like trying to show every layer of muscle and bone, whereas this was like the bones are just shadows that snap into pieces.
Yeah, which is probably more of a budget thing
over like a really, really bright like really harsh colors.
Yeah,
it was kind of ugly to look at.
Yeah, I liked that.
Yes,
it was cool,
quite good.
I like the Sub-Zero and Scorpion teaming up. That's a trope of the franchise that, like, no, and you killed my dad or whatever, and it's like, and now we're friends. Like, it's fine. I like it. It's neat. Yep. I also like the new Sub-Zero's outfit. He looks drippy. I don't like the robots. The robots are cringe.
You should talk about Scorpion's eyebrows.
I just noticed, having seen Scorpion's Revenge multiple times, and then this one once, Scorpion doesn't have eyebrows because, you know, he's gone to hell and he gets burnt up and stuff. He has, like, his eyebrow bones, but there's no eyebrows. I just realized this. I'm very dumb. That's it. Also, this moon does open up with the Ultra Instinct Shaggy ripping Scorpion through the WB logo, which is great.
Scorpion's Revenge did too.
Did it?
I'm pretty sure.
Maybe. Whatever.
It's very fun.
It's so good. I love that. I usually hate them. It's like when Star Wars does like the hello there meme. It's like, okay, we get it. You know the memes. But this is like, this series is Mortal Kombat is already retarded anyways. So why try to take it more seriously? Like, what if Shaggy? I don't care. It's cool. You know? The pacing just really bugged me. Like, it felt very up and down and up and down and up and down and fast and slow and fast and slow. It's like, how much movie is there left? It's an hour and a half long, but it felt short, and then it felt really long by the time the third act got around. It was like, sussy.
Yep.
Katana's very hot. Jade's also hot, but Katana has lots of hips, so that's cool.
It's like
the
a very indecent swimsuit with like sweatpant legs.
Very strange design.
But open hips.
So weird. The designs are really good. They were in the first movie.
Yep.
I think they're a lot more streamlined in a way that I appreciate. Like, frankly, kind of the look that Mortal Kombat 1 was going for is they're a lot more streamlined from where they were, because in 9, 10, and 11, they're getting really fucking complicated designs with a lot of elements going on. It's just too much. That's part of the appeal of the first few games was like, yeah, and the ninjas are all clones of each other. Who cares? They have different colors.
Yep.
Like, fuck you. It doesn't matter. Like, they have more design intricacies than that in this movie, but they're smooth, even though they're really angular, you know? Mm-hmm. Simple color blocking. The characters are very recognizable. It's alright. I like it. It's not as good as the first one.
What did you play?
I played Dead Space 2.
Ooh.
For the first time.
I haven't played this one.
I thought you said you did.
I have not.
Oh. Did you play 3?
No.
Okay. Weird. I thought you said you had. Okay.
Nope.
So Dead Space 2 is...
the sequel.
Yes, it is in fact the sequel to Dead Space. Come on.
It's not as loved as Dead Space 1, but it's not as hated as Dead Space 3.
Accurate. Thank you for summarizing my entire review.
You're welcome.
It came out 3 years after Dead Space, and I'm kind of impressed that it took them this long to crank this thing out. I really struggled to boil my thoughts down into anything digestible by the time I was done with this. It is a very good game that's very fun. It looks good. It performs well, but it doesn't have the sauce. It's missing the spice that the first one had. It was the only real way I was able to condense all of my complaints into one thing. So I wouldn't call them they're criticisms. I wouldn't call them like nitpicks, but they're not huge issues. I think they just kind of all add up to a more substantial vibe difference. So Dead Space 2 leans far more heavily into the action part of the action horror game, which is mostly fine and very fun. It's really, really fast in comparison to the first game, but I think that also takes away a lot of the specialness of it. That was the thing I think that bothered me in the longer term. There's a lot of things that kind of shift around from the first one, but I think that combat being more heavily emphasized with a de-emphasis on horror, or at least controllable horror that isn't in a cutscene or whatever, was really a dumb idea. I get why they wanted to make it more of an action game. It makes for more mainstream appeal. It's not like it's some evil decision. It just really... makes it feel more dude bro-y, if that makes sense. Like, it's like the commercial for this, part of the advertisement campaign for Dead Space 2 was, your mom will hate it. And then they bring in a bunch of like boomer moms and be like, look at our game, there's blood and entrails. And it's like, that's fine, but I feel like it kind of misrepresents the game in a way where it's way more disgusting than the game actually is. Like, there's a lot of blood and guts and gore and whatever, but it makes a lot less of an impact than the first game did. The first game, despite its graphical difficulty sometimes and some parts of it that had aged a little poorly, it was still scary and it still felt really compelling. This game is a lot more shock and a lot less awe, if that makes sense. There are more enemy types that take a lot less ammunition to kill, but most of the enemy types from the first game take a lot more ammunition to kill. The movement speed is sped up for everybody. There's a lot more lights in general, even though the darks, like in Dead Space Remake, are actually dark now. Unlike in the original Dead Space game where they're like simulating darkness, kind of. There's actual sequences in this that are pretty dark, which is cool. It's really just a vibe difference, and that's like, I could go through every category and tell you how they change stuff and how that kind of boils up to like, it just feels shallow. Which is kind of lame, because it's not a very shallow game. It's not like it's some half-assed product or anything. It's clearly a very solid game with a lot of effort put into it. It just doesn't... I struggle to find a decent comparison. But it just doesn't quite have the magic of the first one, which is disappointing. So it takes place, I think, about 6 months, maybe 9 months after the original game. Isaac is in a facility of sorts near Titan, Titan the moon? It's Titan the moon. Am I stupid?
I think so.
Moon of Saturn.
Yes, I was going to say a moon of Jupiter, but
yeah. It's not. So he's on a space station. He wakes up and he's like, "What the fuck's going on? Why? I have no memories. Oh my gosh!" Basically, he was kidnapped after the events of the first game, put into stasis, sort of, and because of the effects of the marker, he has temporary amnesia. And the evil companies and people are trying to use him to make a new marker because apparently his brain has the blueprints to make a marker in it because of the fact that he touched the first marker or whatever. So it's mostly you escaping from a scientific facility, not a military base, which is cool. It's a very good difference in like appearance. Generally,
aesthetic?
Yes, the aesthetic is very different for the first half of the game. You're going through... once you escape from like the medical facilities and stuff, you're in like... I wouldn't say malls, but like... It reminded me of Prey a lot. Like the way that the space station was set up reminded me very heavily of that. There's a lot of office spaces and there's a nursery, like just lots of normal stuff you'd expect, but because it's a horror game, it's spooky. And also there's no fucking people around. So that's cool. There's a lot of time spent in the church, the actual like church, one of the churches of Unitology. I almost said Scientology, same thing. So there's that's really cool. There's time spent in like, it's basically like a cathedral, which is cool. Really interesting aesthetic changes, but it does make the world feel more shallow. There's a lot less interactable elements in the world in the original Dead Space. You could basically pick up anything with stasis and just chuck it around, which is cool. And you can do that a lot in this game. In fact, there are added to your stasis repertoire. You can pick up like limbs and poles and use them as projectiles to stab necromorphs, which is fucking awesome. And it's really OP, which is definitely a heavy emphasis for this game, which is cool. But despite that, it feels like a lot more of the game is set in stone. Like they're not movable models. Like, say the difference between earlier Call of Duties and like newer Call of Duties. A lot of the newer Call of Duties, outside of a handful of the recent entries, like everything is locked in place. They're not individual models stacked on top of each other with all their own polygons and shit. Mm-hmm. It's like a map, like a texture map, basically. Something like that. Mm-hmm. A lot of the stuff just doesn't move around, and because of how the lighting engine hasn't aged super great, it makes everything feel kind of shiny and plasticky. Even though the lighting is improved from the first game, it's just something about it doesn't quite hit right, which is a shame. So it makes it feel a lot more like you're running through the world. Like everything in this game happens back to back to back to back to back to back to back. The entire runtime of the game is like 8 hours long if you're lucky. You just go. There is no map anymore. They took away the map because it's not necessary for this game. You do pretty
linear.
It's pretty fucking linear. You do almost no backtracking. It doesn't necessarily feel super linear, which is a positive for me, but it just... You... Remember when you told me when we were playing, I don't remember if it was Dead Space or Dead Space Remake, you're like, you can hit right stick and you just have a glowing trail to tell you where to go. Yeah, and I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
And I played the game without it because I didn't give a shit. I think that was towards the end of playing the original Dead Space. It wasn't necessary.
I think it was talking about the OG one, and then you were like, I'm not gonna do it, because I don't need it. It makes me scary checking the map and routing my way through.
It was more because, I mean, it's true.
I'm not a dumb gamer that needs a blinky light telling me where to go.
It's mostly because I didn't know it was there, but also, that. My moral standing is still higher than yours, sir. But, like, in this game, you use it nonstop. Like, because there's no option to check the map, and there really isn't any backtracking, you just hit the right stick, it tells you which door to go through, and it discourages exploration. Even the minimal exploration that this game does have, there's a lot more blocked doors or... blocked doors, and stuff like that. It just definitely discourages any exploration. There's a lot more necessary scavenging because you need so much ammunition to take down enemies, but it's not like in the first game where the ammunition was positioned carefully, so you had to learn how to be strategic. This one more feels like we increased them bullet spongies by 150%, and then we just chucked ammunition everywhere. So you have to find it, but it doesn't feel engaging. It feels a little bit more mindless. The story I thought was pretty cool. That's my biggest takeaway out of everything. The story was engaging. It is short, but I do like the new characters that are added, and I like how much it builds on Isaac's psychosis. He's a voiced character now. The voice actor who had gone to play him in Dead Space Remake is the actor who played him in this and Dead Space 3.
Nice.
Yeah, really cool. Really good performance, very engaging, and it's like he's constantly seeing... so in the first game where there's Nicole when you see her when she's all herself, and then towards the end of the game she has like the big demon sucky face where it's like and like there's light pouring out of her mouth or whatever, when she's like clearly that she's the marker or whatever. Does this ring any bells? Sort of.
I don't remember the demon face.
It's like, it just, like, her mouth gets really big, and she's just, like, pouring out, like, yellow light or whatever the fuck.
Okay.
Whatever. She does that all the time in this game, because you as the player know that Isaac's crazy, but Isaac doesn't know that Isaac is crazy. So he's like, where's my girlfriend? Why do I see her places? This is weird. Like, because of the amnesia, he's a little retarded. I have mixed feelings on it, but I do think that it plays out really well. There's a lot of cutscenes and a lot of in-gameplay moments where they use the marker memories sort of Nicole really well. In fact, it's the end boss battle of the game is you go into a void basically and you fight Nicole and a army of demon children. It's weird. But I think that was pretty cool. Which makes me interested in a remake of this game for sure. I think there's a lot of really good material to use, especially if they do it with the same team that did Remake. Holy shit.
It's rumored.
Everything's rumored, though, to be fair. But
there was an Easter egg in the first Remake. They hinted that they might be doing a second one.
They probably should.
They really should.
I don't think they actually have to change that much. Like, it's just... It needs a lot of polish in certain areas. The gameplay is still gratifying. There's a lot of weapon upgrades that are different, and as well as a lot of new weapons. There's 15 weapons in this game or something like that. It's a lot.
Jeepers.
You get ammunition for all of them. I did a run only with the plasma cutter because I thought there'd be an achievement for it like the first game.
Oh, and there wasn't?
And there wasn't!
It sucks to be you.
Fuck you. Even though this game isn't really that hard, it was really frustrating because I was consciously limiting myself when the game was actively telling me, use a different gun, use a different gun, use a different gun. Whereas at least in Dead Space, and especially in Dead Space Remake, they kind of tailor the game if you're not using the other weapons to start only giving you plasma cutter ammunition, and it actually engages with you. This one's like, why are you doing this? Mm-hmm. And I'm just dumb. I didn't take the hint, which is lame. So I made it harder for myself for no reason. Sound design is okay. It's a little bit more clunky than the first game, especially after playing Dead Space a couple of times and Dead Space Remake twice now. Those get a very... I know where a lot of the big audio cues are now, which is fine. They still get me. But this game feels like, even though I don't remember half this campaign, it's been like a week, if I play it through it now, I'd remember where the scares are. They feel a lot more... clumsy. A little bit more gimmicky, more clumsy. They're not bad by any means. There's still a few sequences that are definitely a bit spooky, but they just don't quite tickle my fancy. That goes hand in hand with the expanded list of enemies. The regular necromorphs are less common, and there's this weird new enemy type that's basically just like they are like regular necromorphs, but they're civilians, so they're not strong or anything. So they're cannon fodder, which is fucking annoying. Some of them have armor, which is cool. There's a conscious delineation between them, but it feels really random how they're planned out in the game, that it just feels like random spawns. There's also more than one dead baby now. There's 2 types of dead babies. There's dead babies that go boom. So you can kill the baby, but like you can either trigger the dead, like the regular sploders with the big arm. It's like that, but it's a baby. So you can shoot the sploder, or you can shoot it in the face so it doesn't blow up, which is great. I love that. They're very slow, but they'll sneak up on you. They're like, da, and then you shoot them in the face. What are they called? The big hoppy boys. The big doggies, the one with the big tail, the scorpion ones, whatever the fuck those roles are called. They're more annoying in this game. They're faster, and they're almost all of them are like the upgraded, like darker colored version that's way more durable. They're too fast and they're too hard to hit. There's also literal children, so instead of like in the first game where we had the weird fetus babies with the tentacles that shoot you and stuff, which was like a conscious, here we're gonna go look at what the babies do, like it was a part of a level, it was a cool thing. This one just, there's a level in a nursery, like a kindergarten or whatever, that tries to give you that sort of a feeling where it's like, and now you have to shoot a bunch of toddlers, which is neat, but they're one-hit kills. And it's really unsatisfying. It just, their shrieks are terrifying. Uncomfy. Don't like that. But they feel more like Play-Doh. They're not really well modeled, which makes sense because if you start getting really detailed models of children, I'm going to start asking questions. So it's not really a complaint. It's an observation. Maybe you should have just not done that. So yeah, you'll get like 100 of them thrown at you, and you have to shoot all of them. But they're one-hit kills, so they're kind of unsatisfying. The not final boss, but the final like big enemy of the game is basically an upgraded version of the hunter from the first game. It has a different name and it looks different, but the combat's exactly the same way. You can shoot its limbs off, it sits there for a minute, and it regenerates. You should freeze it to slow it down. That's it. It does the exact same thing as it did in the first game, except it's a lot more terrifying in the first game. The first game, it's a really good sequence. This one, it's fucking frustrating because there's also a billion other enemies in your path. So that sequence in the first game where you're killing the hunter in the big lab, the medical bay and whatever, there's some other enemies, but they're not all necromorphs and big crawly scorpion boys. They're little enemies because they're easier to shoot. This one, you'll get the last, I think it's 2 sequences from the end, you're running away from this big hulking monster that'll kill you and regenerate forever, and you're fighting full-blown enemy types, like 5 of them at once. It's just too much, and it's really, really frustrating. It's the only part of the game I got stuck on for a considerable amount of time. So that's really fucking stupid. And also, there's no real interesting story reason for it in this game, whereas in the first game, and especially developed in the remake, where they give it an actual plot line about how this thing came to be, it's really, really underwhelming. What else we got? The music is good. There's a very famous sequence where you put a drill bit into Isaac's eyeball. That was really cool. It's a gimmicky sequence, but I still liked it, where it's like, you gotta focus on his pupil, and you gotta move the sticks around to try to aim, and then, which is cool. It's gross. It's gross. It's a gimmick, but it was kind of cool. Yeah, it's okay. It's pretty good. It's just, it's not as memorable, and that's kind of disappointing. And then the other big complaint of this game that I have, other than it ain't got no sauce, boy, is, everything that Dead Space 3 was made fun of for and roasted on initial release, where it's filled with microtransactions and shit. Dead Space 2 started that really bad, actually. So you had to pay for access to the online mode, and then there's 10 or 15 weapon and or skin packs you can buy, where it's like, you can buy a gun. It's just a new gun that they just have sitting in the Xbox Live Store for like $5. I didn't realize it until I finished the game and I was, floating around the menus trying to see what's going on. I didn't notice it during gameplay. It didn't feel like there were parts of the game that were removed, but looking at it from a bird's eye view afterwards, holy shit, they really started microtransactioning the fuck out of this thing before Dead Space 3. Dead Space 3 is clearly a worse example of it. It's notorious for it. But the trend started here, and I think it ties in a lot with it wanting to be more of an action-based game. I think they really wanted the mainstream appeal, and I think that the downfall of the series started here, which sucks, because it's still a pretty solid game. 7 out of 10. There you go. Arbitrary number rating.
How's the music?
It's okay.
Wow.
It's about up there with the sound design. It's good. It's not that smooth. It's a little clunky. And that's why it's kind of weird that it took them 3 years to make this, because this feels especially with how linear it is, it feels like they could have whipped this up pretty quickly. So I don't know what took them so long. Maybe if they had to restart development at some point, or something big happened or whatever. I don't get it. Enjoyable experience. I will go back to it. I will do multiple run-throughs, but I definitely feel like in 10 years, I'm not going to play this again. I will probably, if I'm still alive and still playing video games in 10 years, I'll probably still be playing Dead Space, because Dead Space is fucking awesome. This is just, it's pretty good. You know what else is pretty good? Our patrons.
Oh!
The people who give us the money to buy these games and other things that we buy with our money that you don't need to know about. Caitlin and Jeff Lawrence give us financial support on a monthly basis. It's greatly appreciated. If you want to support this show and our other artistic endeavors, artistic in big quotations, you can go to patreon.com/dimecomicbros network. Give us the monies, and we will thank you on air, and other cool things like early access to all of our shows, exclusive access to happy hour segments where we get shit-faced afterwards. Not really, we usually have one drink. We'll talk about random stuff. Sometimes it's personal shit, sometimes it's the weather. Jacob's gonna be talking about Dead Space, oh my gosh, Resident Evil 1, because he sucks at it apparently, so he's gonna leave that discussion behind a paywall. Gotta hide how sucky you are. As well as a bunch of cool stickers, bookmarks, other fun stuff. So go ahead, go over there. That'd be cool. We like money. Thank you. Also, thank you to our partners over at Jetpack Comics and Games in downtown Rochester, New Hampshire. Support your local shops. Local business is good and stuff. And local niche shops especially. They really need business to stay afloat. Amazon sucks up all the business. Give them your monies. I think I actually bought this copy of Dead Space 2 at Jetpack, so that ties in pretty well.
That's cool.
Yeah. Next month, it's Dead Space 3, baby!
And Resident Evil 3, baby!
Oh, kill me.
3 Remake. Sorry.
And we should just do Mortal Kombat Legends 3 just for fun. just to really hammer it home. And it's gonna be the 3rd episode of the season! Aren't we great?
We should just name the episode
3
Trilogy.
But not Blade Trinity, because that was bad.
I'll hire someone off the street named Megan so that we can name it Mithrigan. Just, can you guest star on my show that nobody listens to real quick?
Oh, that'd be horrible.
You can read the news for us.
I think we should do it. That sounds like a horrendous idea.
Cool.
We should do it.
I have permission now.
We only have like a $5 budget, though.
I'll see what I can do.
I still maintain that you should have used cinder blocks to insulate your walls and then sprayed spray foam into the holes, so then they'd just be a one big block for in between each set of studs. I maintain this position. It would have been very expensive and probably bad for your floor.
And it probably would have cracked with the train going by.
Don't worry you bad. You then encase it in more spray foam. You see, now it's shatterproof.
I don't think you've ever bought spray foam.
The only thing with spray foam I've ever done is shoot a canister and get it all over my hair, which was bad because then I had to, use acetone to get it out, and that was disgusting.
Nice. Yeah. And that's why you're a big bald man now.
Yes. Yes, it just thinned my hair out into oblivion. but not like Oblivion, the video game.